Right, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Where They Are Sleep. We've gone for a slightly different time this week, as last week Stocky was ill. I'm ill at the minute, but suffering it for tonight. So we're back on Mondays. We're going to call these the midweek sessions, which is something we were very much used to as kids. So, well, I say kids, but younger adults. How's it going, Stocks? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm here ready to do my footballing version of the Grinch.
Yeah, well, things are. To be fair, I haven't really been paying attention to your results recently, but things are looking a little bit better than they were, aren't they?
There was an improvement against Bournemouth
Yeah.
for a bit. I didn't go at the weekend to Brighton. I let my dad have my ticket because I was away. I was on a little weekend away, and sounds like, for all intents and purposes, we were shit.
Back to the normal.
Yeah. I called my mum, and he went, "You done well to." I could hear him in the background saying, "You done well to avoid that. We were shit."
Quality. Sounds just like your old man, to be fair.
Yeah. The apple don't fall far from the tree, does it?
No, not at all, mate. Not at all. Right, let's get into it. So tonight we're going to go through a few different things, but might as well start off with how crazy this season's been. To be fair, I've brought up the sort of the fixtures from the last two, well, the results from the last two game weeks, just so that we can have a look over them. There seems to be a lot of sort of weird score lines going on these days. Like, what have you thought of it?
Yeah, I noticed it a lot. I can't remember what time of year, but probably around Boxing Day in like 1967 or something.
Yeah,
They always bring it up because there was that mental week where there was all these odd scores in the old First Division, and it feels a little bit like that. Um, I was having a flick through. There's so many games this season where like teams have got at least 4 or 5.
yeah,
There's been a couple of 3-6s. There's been teams winning 2-0 and losing 3-2 and things like that. Like things you really seldom see. And I've got a couple of theories why it is, but I don't think people will say, "Oh yeah, it's so entertaining, it's amazing, and it's great if you want to see goals." But if you want to see some good football as well, you kind of think, like, fucking hell, these are professional teams. What are they doing?
they're playing that. Some of the defending is an absolute shambles at times.
hmm
Well, like even just like the last two game weeks, there's a lot of high scoring games. So if we start from the top, you're looking through. I suppose 2-2 is a pretty regular score, but Newcastle 4-0. They're all pretty basic, to be fair. And then you've got Tottenham winning away 5-0. I know Southampton are pretty rubbish, but Tottenham were like 5-0 up at half time, which isn't a normal thing to happen.
Mm.
Again, Newcastle win 4 away. Palace 1, Arsenal 5, which is a bit of an anomaly for Palace at home. And then the maddest one of them all was Tottenham 3, Liverpool 6, which is just
Mm.
crazy. I didn't actually get to watch the game, to be fair, but I checked the score and it was like 5-1. And thought, right, Liverpool have given a good hiding. And then I put it on the radio, and by the time I'd got it on, it was 5-2, and then all of a sudden it was 5-3, and it was like, what is this, man?
Do you know what? I think Tottenham are the perfect team to encapsulate this. Well, I think they're one of the perfect teams to encapsulate it because I sort of had a brief go just over the season.
Yeah,
So they've got the one you got there, the two they got there with those two results. They've beat Man City 4-0 away. What else have they had? They've had loads of them. They were 2-0 up against Brighton, lost 3-2. Didn't they have another mad game where it was like 6-3 or 6-4 or something? Oh, they got battered by Chelsea, didn't they?
that was last season, though, wasn't it? They had a couple of mad ones last season. Us last season and Chelsea last season were a bit crazy.
Mm.
They've had Man United in the League Cup
They beat
last week.
Yep.
Bonkers.
They beat Everton 4-0 at home. I remember speaking to a few Tottenham supporters about that, and they're like, they've beat Man United 3-0 away in the league. But yeah, they never had some horrendous results where they've been battered. and it's I think it's just this trend of everyone's got to have this style of play that's ultra attacking, playing out from the back. When simply like you can't always do that. I
Yeah,
think it just leads to mad games, and I, yeah, it's entertaining for like a random viewer.
mm,
Every football now is like Instagram. Like everyone's it's just got to be the most perfect form. Doesn't matter about the functionality of how it suits real life. It just has to look good.
yeah. And even on the Tottenham thing, I've seen a lot of Tottenham fans saying, "Well, what are we meant to do with the defence that we've got at the minute?" And it's like, well, set up slightly differently. Maybe not send so many players forward and leave them completely exposed.
Funny enough, I think I saw the same tweet you're speaking about that you replied to.
Hmm.
Um, and I was on the train and I kept going in and out of tunnel sucking. But I was like, well, how about he don't play his two best centre halves in a game he probably weren't going to win and re-injure them? Because they
Yeah,
must have literally blown past
yeah, that would
when
100% be my next point on it. Is like last season, you get them weird anomaly seasons where you get a load of injuries and there's not really much you can do about it. But it's happened to Tottenham 2 years in a row now. So
mm,
maybe it is time for them to sit back and take stock of the way they're doing things rather than
mm,
being, oh yeah, we've got a load of injuries, it's unfortunate. If it keeps happening, maybe it's not unfortunate. Maybe you're fundamentally doing something wrong in the way you're preparing players or the amount of rest you're giving them or anything like
mm,
that that is causing all of these injuries. And like you said, the game that they potentially weren't going to win, they brought both of their centre backs straight back from injury. By the end of the game, they're both off the pitch injured again. It's like
yeah.
that doesn't make any sense.
Mm. And to like spread it across other teams, I don't think anyone anticipated Liverpool would be this good.
No.
And no one anticipated Man City would be this bad. Manchester United are pretty dreadful. And then you got some teams that are sort of doing better than expected. So I think Bournemouth have been all right for a couple of years, but they've got some cracking results this year.
Yeah.
Forest are pushing, and I think um, it's funny, but they're not. Say like Forest, they're not part of this sort of play it out from the back zeitgeist where you have to do it a certain way. They got two stiff centre halves, two rapid wingers, and a big lump up front who can. I don't know. He's weird, isn't he? He could either get a hat trick or he couldn't trap a bag of cement.
Yeah, he's a weird one. Even when he was at Newcastle, I wasn't too down on him because I wasn't expecting him to be amazing anyway. And my thing was always he was a really good trigger for our press, which
Mm,
sounds like a really bad cop out for a centre forward. But from going from where we were looking like we were going to get relegated to staying up quite comfortably in the end, it was quite something. It was a massive thing that was needed. And he
mm,
didn't get a bag of goals for us, but he's in good form for Forest. It could just be a purple patch, could be a nice little back
mm,
form, or maybe Forest have found a system that suits him scoring goals because
mm,
he has pretty much scored goals everywhere else he went. Other than he wasn't, I don't think he was as prolific at Newcastle as he was anywhere else.
mm.
And,
Yeah,
and who we both know was never his biggest fan from his back.
yeah, yeah. Um, do you think there's a tactical, or do you reckon it's a tactical try at the minute to be so horrendous at the back and concede so many goals? Or do you think it's a mentality thing?
I think managers get a little bit trapped in what they've said when they're going for jobs. So everybody
Mm,
now, when they go for an interview, they're going to have to come up with a philosophy and a way of playing and how they're going to do it and how attractive it's going to be to the fans and how they're going to keep bums on seats and stuff like that. And then once they've got the job, they're kind of stuck having to do it. And it's one of them that some of these managers probably do sit there and think this probably isn't the best way to win this football match, but this is what I sold, so I'm going to stick with it. Because I
mm,
can't see that many of them being so stubborn that they're just going to stick with it because it's like, as Ange says, it's the way we are, mate. Like, I can't see that as a logical thing for someone who's got to the top level of football management.
mm. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I find it strange because if, like, as a manager, all right, there's a preferred way you want to play, but do you know what? You could play crap football if you keep winning every week. Like,
Yeah,
that's that. Well, I'm the prime example of this because obviously, West Ham and Moyes, because not everyone loved the style of football. Um, and we took a few batterings along the way, but generally we done all right. But there just seems to be this thing where you're supposed to play amazing football to win matches. It's the only way you're allowed to win,
yeah,
and everything else is frowned upon. Like, we all want to play great football. It's really nice to watch and it's fun,
yeah,
but also it's, you can't always do that, and sometimes it's good just soak it up. And there's not much more exhilarating things than a breakaway goal, like a counter attack, like 3-4 passes, if that,
yeah.
in goal. But yeah, uh, I think the makeup of the league is making things a bit more interesting as well,
Hmm.
especially the light of Man City dropping out. Like, for weeks, I was like, oh, they're going to come good, but they're not, are they?
I don't know. I potentially think they'll go on a Man City-esque run, but they're so far off it. They're not going to be in for a shout of the title. Like,
No.
they'll put together a run that will put them in and around sort of fourth, fifth, and if either Chelsea or Arsenal drop off, potentially they'll catch up with one of them. But they're not going to get anywhere near the top two, I don't think now.
Mm.
I've brought up this graphic here, basically from off the back of what you were saying, of teams that they just want to play that gung ho, all out attack kind of football. And pretty much the top 10 is made up of teams that have various ways of playing. Like, they don't just play
Hmm.
that we're just going to go out and attack and score a load of goals. Like, Man City are still doing it, which is why they're plummeting down the table. Their defensive line's just a joke. They don't know how to play in transition, going back towards their own
Oh,
goal. It's ridiculous that it's going on this long that he hasn't sorted it out as someone who is clearly one of the best managers we've ever
mm.
seen. The only other team I think in that list that you could put that down to a little bit is Brighton. I don't think they're as clever when it comes to setting up a little bit more defensively rather than just playing. Like, he has tweaks. He tweaks his system ever so slightly, but I don't think he's the best at tweaking it to be a little bit more defensive than he wants to play.
I
Outside
wouldn't
of
get
that,
into
there's
it
other
too
8
much.
teams in there that have got so many. I've watched all of them 3 or 4 times, and they don't play the same way every single week. So I don't get
Mm.
why there's so many teams like your Tottenhams and Man Cities that don't go down a similar thingy. Like Liverpool, top of the league and top of the Champions League, and I watched them, not the Tottenham game, the game before, and they seemed like it was like they played 3 different systems in the same game, and that's like rare now, which is an odd thing
Mm.
to say. They play in moments rather than this is the way we play, deal with it. They play the actual moment of the game normally.
Mm. Which is an interesting way to do it, because generally, most managers are all about control. They want to control as many variables as possible,
Yeah.
and to be ready to adapt to a feeling um, is interesting. I find it quite interesting anyway, because, like I say, in this country, a traditional manager wants to control the variables.
Yeah.
So to be ready to say, oh, remember when we said this, do that, do that, do that, and obviously it's working fantastically.
Mm.
Um, I'd say for a lot of them, a few of them sides, um, I think Liverpool are at the top. I'm not sure about Chelsea centre backs, mine, but obviously everyone bangs on about Arsenal's too. But a good defence does does get you far.
Mm.
Defence wins championships, doesn't it? That's
100%.
so Forest. I've already said about their two centre halves, Milinkovic and Morello.
Yeah, they're both
Um,
fantastic players.
whereas Man City have been chopping and changing them for weeks. As you go further down, it's less certain for each team, you'd say. I know Brighton changed in and out of Diop and who's the other one? They bought the fella from Palace.
Oh, Fulham.
Yeah,
Fulham, they've bought
yeah,
Anderson, Diop and Anderson.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you've got your bottom. You had your Botman injury, which really affected you.
Should be back on the
So
bench come
yeah,
Boxing Day, I think.
and I think as you go up that table there, the centre halves and your defensive element. I say the centre halves because I've never been the biggest fan of Trent Alexander-Arnold as a
Yeah,
defender, and Robinson's on a big decline recently this season. He's doing things that you don't. But just the strength of Gravenberch in front and Konate and Van Dijk has been so solid for Liverpool, even with their Resi keeper for a large portion.
yeah,
Um,
100%. It's what you do just in front of the back four as well as what the back four are doing. And I think that's what Chelsea
mm,
do really well, which sort of
mm,
combats some of the frailties that their back four has actually got. Because when they've got Lavia and Caicedo in there, they've got two
mm,
more defensive minded runners. So they plug up loads of
mm,
gaps, and even if the fullbacks are gone, they'll plug them gaps, and it works
mm.
really well for them.
And then in other games, when they're like less exposed at centre back, they bring in Enzo, who's having a lot more productive season than he has done previously.
Yeah, 100%.
I, f- I know it's not necessarily the conversation at the minute, but mate, that Chelsea manager's got his name in the hat for Coach of the Year.
Oh yeah, if he keeps it going, he has to keep it going. No, they can't just fall
So
off a cliff.
impressive. Yeah, but I find it so impressive.
Yeah. Right, I've
Mm,
switched it over to more to the bottom half here. That it's a bit mad down there as well because Southampton are a little bit cut adrift, and then from Ipswich, say up to Everton, they're all still sort of in it, and then everybody above that, the teams you'd look at and think they're a little bit out of place there, which adds to the fact of how much of a bonkers season it has been because Tottenham and Man United have been in and around Europe for years and years now.
mm. But I think that just shows how dysfunctional they are. And I always say these problems for certain clubs. So you'd say, well, they're more than established clubs.
Yeah,
They used to be part of a top six.
yeah. Well, two of the clubs we're looking at now are in the bottom 10 of the league. What many people
Mm.
would class as the big six in the league.
And that's why I hate that phrase, because all it does is lean on what they did do and not what they've done. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's another set. But yeah, I think them two, and I'd say to a, all right, I'll keep West Ham out of this, but they're two clubs where you could safely say things are not right in the upper echelons of the club,
yeah,
and it leaks down, and I haven't really got a plan of what they're doing. Um, they're trying to just please a fan base, get some good football going, and you need more than that. You start like I would have thought it's like coaching 101. Stop leaking goals, everything builds from there. Because if
oh
you
yeah,
don't concede any goals, you're always in a game.
yeah, hundred
But
percent.
it's like the first thing managers do now is see how they can get their fullbacks to tuck in and all of this shit.
Yeah, they can
like,
come up with a more creative way of trying to create goals rather than stopping them going in, which is bonkers.
yeah,
It's like as a player, say you're having a bit of a bad game and you're having a bit of a mare. You then don't try and spray 40-yard passes. You think, right, take a
mm,
good touch, lay it off, find a bit of space.
mm,
Take a good touch, 5-yard pass, and you do that for a couple of minutes, and you feel
mm,
your way back into it. And then
mm,
you can start being a little bit more expansive. You don't think, right, I'm going to be more expansive, be amazing, and then not worry about the fundamentals that are going
mm,
completely wrong in the first place.
mm. Yeah, or you go and hit someone.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I
um,
would, to be fair, I would do that regardless. But
yeah, you'd be having a world of you. You still go and club someone.
yeah, sometimes there's just a need for that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and like I say, and I was just gonna have a quick look at the goals. There's not too much interest in. Obviously, Tottenham have got plus 14 despite taking said wallopings. Because every now and then they will go and turn a side over, but generally the sides, well, I suppose, would just say, well, Man City are not terrible. They're not very good at the moment, but they're not a terrible side. It's not easy to walk through them, is it?
Yeah, but Tottenham have always had that sort of kryptonite over Man City for the last few years.
Mm,
Every time it comes around to Tottenham, Man City, you think, they could get something out of this.
mm.
And not
Like,
many teams can play Man City and think that.
What I would say about Tottenham is sometimes they're just really explosive for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So if they can limit the mistakes they do, if they get their 15 minutes in before the other side scores, they're most likely going to win. Because I'll say when they give us a bit of a wad pin, but the first half was pretty even-ish. But then they had that burst and the game was gone. And obviously, Southampton the other week, 5-0, they scored within a minute or something ridiculous.
Yeah, they scored stupidly earlier.
Yeah.
But and the thing
I'd
with
say,
Tottenham, it's a mentality thing with Tottenham as well, because you can, even if they're winning, you can get out. So if you score a goal and then someone hits a big tackle and something along them lines, they start thinking, okay, they're coming back into this, and they can fall apart very, very quickly. Like the League game we were talking about against Man United, they were they 3-0 up for about 15 minutes to go, and in the end, it ended like 4-3 or something stupid like that.
What I would say, if as we sort of mentioned, if Kulusevski got an injury, they'd be in trouble. To pick up an injury for him, I don't think they'd have the engine room, the guile, the incisiveness that really gets them. Like I say, I think it's the driving force in them patches. Like Son is like periphery. It's not like he's getting on a bit. Brennan Johnson doesn't really take people on, but he gets on the end of stuff. And I don't think Solanke's settled. Yeah, and I've always said Maddison shit. I know he'll get a goal every now and then, but I still don't think he does much for his reputation.
He's got no.
No, not at all. But then maybe that's why. Maybe it was why he's there.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, why he's at Tottenham and not at a proper big club. But as you touched on when you started on the Tottenham thing, injury to Kulusevski could be massive for them. How massive is this in regards to Arsenal and their hopes of trying to claw back Liverpool in the title charge? Because the word is he's out till the end of February.
End of February.
Yeah, it's actually a tear. It's not it's not a strain. It's not nothing that he's actually torn a hamstring. So you're looking at 8 to 12.
You would certainly know this a bit more than me. Have they released what grade it is?
Grade 3.
So it's the
grade 3. So 8 to 12 is sort of what they'd say the average turnaround is. And the bonkers thing is, it's the same hamstring that he's come off with 3 times before this season. This season he's come off with a hamstring complaint. Same hamstring.
He doesn't usually limp off when they're winning.
Yeah, I know. It's normally when he's been pocketed by someone, he gets subbed and he has that little limp about him.
Yeah, I think that's massive for them because it's just that balance now. Because whoever they play out there is not going to be the same, so teams can focus on boxing in Ødegaard, for instance. That I saw this firsthand. Funny enough, another example of like the crazy games this year is when West Ham lost 5-2 at home. We had like 7 goals in the first half.
Yeah.
Like when Ødegaard's there, he'll come further and further in when the ball's on the left for Arsenal, it'll come further in field. So the left back has to come over to save there being gaps in between your back four. And because Arsenal are good enough on the ball to facilitate Saka just standing and getting chalk on his boots.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting because they've got to find another. One, you got to getting a player to fill in. It's not the thing, but they need the impact.
Yeah, they need that X factor. So when a lot of the time when they're not playing well and a team is camped in, adamant not to let them get anywhere near the box with the ball, he's the one that comes up with something that's a little bit magic. And he's the one that teams will never want to leave one-on-one with the left back. They haven't really now got anybody that anybody's going to think, I'm not backing my fullback against him here.
Mm.
I
I
think that
mean,
could be a problem for him because you'll find teams doubling up a little bit more than Odegaard now. Because before they couldn't, they'd
mm,
have to get close to They'd have to have three that cover the two because they play in very similar areas.
mm,
Now, say it was Newcastle Arsenal next week, I'd be quite happy with say they played Martinelli right and Trossard left. I'd be happy to leave both of them up against Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento and double up somewhere else. I'd have no qualms about that whatsoever.
exactly. I mean, like, well, I'd say Trossard's in better form than Martinelli. I think he's really dropped off, and that's good because I find him a bit of a dick.
Yeah,
He's really got that Arsenal mentality about him. He's quite petulant. Um, but like they're all right players, but they're nowhere near the. As you say, you fancy you fancy your defenders against them, and they haven't got that searing pace. And something that Saka's done a lot recently that I really like is that he's using his right foot more to cross, which is the absolute killer for a fullback. Because
yeah,
if you think someone's all left, I've got to stop that, and then he chops you and goes the other way, any sort of a game plan you have is in tatters because you have to be ready to go both ways, and that's really not what you want as a fullback. On top of him being proper fucking quick.
yeah. That's the worst thing for a fullback. When I would used to play on the wing, I deliberately always used to do that. So I'd go stronger side twice, and then I'd come in on my weaker foot and try and do something that side just to make the fullback think, right, he's not going to go the same way every single time here.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a blow for Arsenal, and it's Christmas. So you get a lot of games. You get back from Christmas. I think it goes into the League Cup.
Yeah,
League
League
Cup
Cup. I think
midweek.
it is League Cup. I think it's the first full midweek in Jan. So it's the weekend. It's the midweek before the third round of the FA Cup.
Oh, so
So
then you've
for
got
Arsenal, it will be us at the Emirates, and then Man United back-to-back games midweek, and then a Saturday, I think.
mm, two tough games, and that's not even any points available for them.
No,
You'd expend quite a lot of energy on both.
yeah,
Um, I'm not, I'm not saying it's fatal because, other teams have got a lot of games to go. Chelsea got a lot of games to go. Liverpool, especially, like flying high in the Champions League. I mean, we're saying this about Saka. I feel we'd virtually be saying the same, if not even worse, if Salah was to go down for Liverpool.
yeah.
Oh,
So
and as if by magic, mate.
that was the perfect segue, mate. I was waiting for a little link to get it up. As we're talking about crazy seasons, we can't really leave Mo Salah out because the numbers at the bottom here for Christmas is an absolute joke. Like
Obsessed.
90% of strikers in world football, 95%, 98%, whatever you want to put percentage on it, are delighted. Maybe not the games, no, but the goals and assists. They're delighted with that for a full season.
Mm,
They're at Christmas, and in all comps, he has 18 goals and 15 assists.
it's ridiculous. Funnily enough, I think um, no one really talks about Salah till he scores again. I think it's become normal.
Yeah,
Obviously, like it's not quite the Messi and Ronaldo stuff that kind of distorted what football statistics are, but he's not far off. He's only on the rung below. I said at the season because he's still not agreed a contract or the such. I said maybe he's having like a last dance, like one killer year.
yeah.
I mean, if he's clearly still playing at that level, would you break the bank to keep him?
You have to. You absolutely have to. Unless Liverpool have some kind of magic plan and a different way of playing that they want to go down, they
Mm,
absolutely have to. To put this into context, yeah, we're 16 games through the ball. Liverpool are 16 games through their season.
mm,
Everybody else has played 17. Halfway through the season is what, 19? So they've got 3 games to play to be halfway. Only once before in the history of the Premier League has a player put up 20 goals, 20 assists. He is on
good.
15 and 11 before the halfway point. So he needs 5 goals and 9 assists to be the second player to do it, which is ridiculous when he's got, 22 games left if he stays fit. The only player that has done it is Thierry Henry.
Oh, that would have been my guess. Oh, that's all right. Yeah, and do you know what? And we're only talking about his final product here. There's a lot to be said with. Again, it's kind of the same as a Saka situation. You have to do so many plans to keep him quiet, and essentially all that does is make space in other areas of the pitch for people to exploit. Like they tend on the other side, they're kind of swapping between Gakpo and Diaz. Sorry. I kind of like both. Like I wasn't sold on Gakpo to start with, but he's grown in my estimations. I've always liked Diaz. I just think he just smacks of a Liverpool player for me.
Yeah.
And I think Jota coming back as well is really big for them.
Yeah, massive. He's definitely their best one to play the 9 through the middle.
Well, it's just very fluid.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really like Arsenal and Chelsea, and I don't care about Liverpool supporters because if any are near me, that means they're lost. So, do you know what? I hope they carry on and be interested. Like when you start getting pushed to shove in the Champions League, are they still going to be able to do it? It's going to be really interesting. I mean, would you strengthen in January?
I think they have to, personally. Not up front, because they've got 6 that are all very good. Very, very good. I think they need to strengthen. I think they need one more in midfield, a little bit creative, because as much as Curtis Jones had a storming start to the season, his level hasn't been as high the last few weeks. And as much as he could get there, I don't think he's yet at the point to produce for a full season. And then I think they potentially need one more at the back as well.
Would you go a centre half or a fullback? Even fullback.
I would be looking at someone sort of in the Calafiori mould that Arsenal have signed, who can potentially play centre back but can play left back as well. Because I don't think they're very strong at left back whatsoever. And like we say, Van Dijk's going to have a rest somewhere. He's not a young player anymore. He can't play every single game. So even without injuries, you're going to have to play someone else at left centre back. So if they can get someone who can cover Van Dijk and also slightly up the level at left back, I think they're absolutely rocking back there. To be fair.
Yeah, and like you say, Salah. That's mighty impressive stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy numbers. Like going back to when we drew 3-3 with them, first half came off at half time, and I was thinking Lewis Hall has been amazing against Salah today. And then Klopp made a little tweak where they gave us the ball, drew us out a bit, and he kept getting Salah in behind. And I felt sorry for Lewis Hall because there wasn't much he could have done about it, but Salah was involved in every single goal from there. And it went from a great game to Salah. Now he's had 2 goals and an assist, and it's like, where's that come
from? Do you know what? He's always an extremely efficient finisher, which I always like. There's no fat on his finishes. He does enough to find the premium spot. And he very seldom blasts things. Everything's placed, or he's feinted to get his angle. And recently, it's like he's got a special move with the outside of his foot pass.
Oh yeah, he's loving that in a minute.
Oh, I just love to see it. It's so good.
The only time he ever seems to blast anything is on his right. Whereas every now and again, where sometimes you get your swinger out and it's like, right, plant your foot, put your legs.
The over ball.
Yeah. On target, put as much power as that swinger can get into it, and hopefully it goes in.
Get them big side foots. He's running in from the right and get a big side foot on it, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, if he keeps it up, we're on for a very, very, we're potentially looking at the best season a player's ever had in the Premier League.
I'm glad you brought it up. That's a nice little thing. Because, like I say, if that was Saka, everyone and their dog would be talking about it.
Oh yeah, 100%. You would absolutely never hear the end of it. Never hear the end of it. Right,
Or Cole
rolling on
Palmer.
to our last. Oh, go on.
I was going to say, and Cole Palmer. Everything he's done, everyone's quick to be all over it, but Salah's just been producing consistently. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, Salah. I mean, Palmer has one good game, and you don't hear the end of it until he has a bad game. Salah's
Mm.
consistently churning it out, and he's like, people are like, well, he's not that great on the eye. He's not this, and he's not that, and it's like, well, he's just mustard. What
He's
else can
good.
you do?
He's good when he needs to be good. The best players step up when it's needed, not when you're already winning 3-0.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Right, rolling on to the last subject. These festive fixtures. Well, the first part of the festive fixtures, which come up Thursday
Mm.
and Friday. Uh, any of these games jumping out at you?
Yep. Yep. Nice relegation battle at 12:30 between Man City and Everton. No, I'd say if there was any like relegation talk, it's the Southampton West Ham.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit biased on that, but Southampton are dreadful, so there's massive pressure on us to win. But if we win, hopefully that's another little bit of distance. I think the biggest game, sort of table wise, is actually you versus Villa, because you've both had a real upturn in form. Villa have tweaked it a bit as well because they're starting Duran more, which is working for them. Yeah, and your form's improved too. So I think that'd be quite a good game, and it's a bit of a shame that it's on 3 o'clock. I think that'd be a fixture people would want to see more than. Well, I suppose Wolves Man United is a bit of a 6-pointer, but yeah, compared to the other two, I'd much rather watch your game, mate.
Yeah, well, not being biased at all here, I think that is probably game of the day on Boxing Day because
Mm,
it's two teams that are sort of vying for have been vying for the same position for the last few years. They're the teams that look most likely to really join in on the traditional bigger boys.
mm,
And for us, I think it's massive because we've had our turnaround. We've had some really good results over the last few weeks. But it feels weird saying it has only been Leicester and Ipswich. And with Villa now,
mm,
well, I feel if we go and we put on a performance and we beat them, that could be the catalyst for us to go on a very good run. Because after that, I think we've got Tottenham, then Man United, then we've got the Arsenal League Cup game, and then I think it's Bromley in the FA Cup after that. So
mm,
following up with them 3 games off the back of Villa, a win would be massive, I think.
mm. Um, I'd say second to your game would be Forest Spurs, because obviously Spurs are due to win well, because usually they play all right after they get spanked. But I was bigging up Forest earlier on. Can they keep it going?
I think that could be a bit of a hiding for Spurs.
Really?
Yeah, I think the way Forest play is set up for the way Tottenham play.
Hmm.
Tottenham with missing defenders as well, I think they'll get absolutely massacred in transition.
Mm.
I think
Okay.
Forest will have too much pace, too much running power, and now batter. And I think that'll be 2 or 3 goal gap and quite a comfortable 2 or 3 gap as well.
Mm. While you're saying that, actually, another one that's actually piqued my interest. All the good games are on at 3 o'clock, so they're not televised. Chelsea, Fulham. Fulham, another side that have gone underrated this year.
Yeah,
Silver's been given time, much more than most managers get, and it's really coming to help Fulham out. I really like them, and obviously Chelsea are having a much better year than is expected. Marseca's doing an excellent job. That could be a really exciting game too.
really, really, really good game. The good news is that it's Amazon Prime Day, isn't it?
Oh, is it really?
So yeah, for everybody that's got Amazon Prime, you can watch whatever game you want.
Oh, so dear, oh dear, I
Yeah,
ain't getting out.
that's quite
I
the
ain't getting out of the ass. I ain't getting out of the ass. The problem is, I either watch all the games in my house, or I go to the pub with my dad and watch every game in the pub. um,
which is the lesser of the two evils.
Pub. Well, actually, I've got to go to work on Friday. So, um, what you saying about? Is there anything else? I'll say
I
Brighton,
think
Brentford.
Wolves Man United will be interesting. I think Bournemouth Palace, I think, will be a good game because as much as Palace got battered by Arsenal, I don't
Twice.
think they had. I think Eze had a little bit of a knock, so I don't think. I think he'll be available again. So I think that could be a pretty good game.
Mm.
Outside of that, you're looking at maybe Brighton Brentford the next day could be decent.
Mm.
But that's
The
weird
both teams.
planning. Friday, 8:30, and then half 7, and then 8:15. That's an odd one.
Yeah, yeah, a bit annoying. Yeah, I mean, how good would it be if Everton get another result against Man City?
Yeah, that would be interesting because Daishi knows how to set up a defensive side. The only problem with that is I don't think they've got enough or anything on the transition to scare Man City.
Man City.
So I think they'll just be camped, and it could be one of these late 1-0s where City just pummel them until the legs fall off and they nick one.
I don't know. Walker's a bit of a walking mistake at the minute. He's always, do you know what? He always used to be out of position for me anyway, but he was so quick
Yeah.
and he had so many players in form around him, it didn't matter. But now it's really coming to the fore, isn't it? Like, and everyone's spotting it now.
Yeah, he's lost a yard. And as someone who was once rapid, it's hard to adjust. But you start missing things, not because your brain's not quick enough, you still believe in your body enough to think, I'm going to get there. And you're not, and you're never going to get there because your legs are going and there's nothing you can do about it. You've just got to adapt the way that you play and become a lot better positioned. You can't rely on your pace to dig you out of a hole anymore. And that's something he's going to have to come to terms with. He's either going to have to become a right centre back in a free and be better positioned, or drop down a bit, I think, to be honest, and just play fullback as a traditional fullback for someone.
Yeah. Speaking of pressure, I would think there'll be a bit of pressure on West Ham's game against Southampton. I know I'm pretty sure I already said that, but the more I think about it, the more it's already getting to me.
What for pressure on Lopetegui?
Yeah. You got to be. I know, like, it's a away game, but they've. I think Southampton in the territory of historically bad.
Yeah.
So
And they took a hiding at the weekend as well, didn't they? So even the new manager bounce hasn't really helped them out. So it's one of them you kind of want to put another nail in the coffin rather than giving them anything.
And then, like, even for British standards, another round on Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday. It's brutal. It's brutal. I was having a little flick through them earlier on as well.
I haven't had a full look at that list, to be honest. In fact, I'm going to get it up quickly now just to have a quick look to see what we've got.
I mean, a fixture for the ages on Monday night is Man United Newcastle. Gets us back to our mid-90s heyday, mate.
Yeah. Actually, I always used to hate that game, but I'm looking forward to it for some reason. I don't know why. It's like man playing at Old Trafford is like us going to Anfield. We never ever seem to win, regardless of how crap they are and how good we are. It just never seems to happen.
Oh no, I lost what I was going to say there. Fulham Bournemouth is on Sunday. I kind of like the look of that. We just said how good Fulham have been this year. Bournemouth equally so. I think they've got some proper handy players. Obviously, they're still.
I don't know. See, looking at this, I don't know why they've done this because you've got a few games Sunday, a couple of games Monday, nothing on Tuesday. Then you've got one game on Wednesday.
Is that a catch-up fixture for someone?
No, it's Brentford Arsenal.
No, they're giving Arsenal a long time to recover, are they not? Oh, they play on Friday.
Yeah, but then so do Ipswich and Brighton. And Ipswich and Brighton play on Monday. Or Brighton play on Monday. Yeah, both of them play on Monday. So it's a bit of an odd one. Like, why would you leave Tuesday completely free and then have the game on Wednesday? It doesn't make any sense.
I think my beloved West Ham are going to get battered live on telly on Sunday afternoon, 5:15 at home to Liverpool. In fact, I'll probably be there. So,
Jesus, that's not what you need, is it?
nah, I don't think you'll see me on here Sunday night, mate.
To be fair, at quarter past 5, it's going to be a struggle to get back in time for it. To be fair.
Oh yeah. It's amazing when you've got 60,000 people trying to go through one station, mate.
Yeah. Well, same for Monday. Monday, Man United, Newcastle at 8, and we're potentially going to be on Spurs Kings at 9. So that could be interesting.
Mate, you'll have to try and be as professional as I was with West Ham Bournemouth the other week.
Mate, if we're winning and we score, you probably won't see the laptop will be gone.
Yeah, tables getting flipped.
Yeah, that is it, mate. I'll be jumping up. Don't worry about that. We never win at Old Trafford, and I hate them. So any win for us, I'm having it.
Are you going to get away with watching this much football over Christmas, mate?
Of course,
Or have you got a lot of family stuff to do?
There's always family stuff to do, but Boxing Day, parents and that are coming round, so I'll be cooking for everybody. Lou's coming as well, so that'll be an interesting one. But I will, as it's on Prime, I'll just set up my laptop somewhere in the kitchen. In the background, no one can complain because I'm still doing what I need to do, and yeah, hopefully I'll get pretty much everything done, so I can have that little space from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock to concentrate more on Newcastle Villa.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's all these games. I know it's not one for you, but if I get a chance, I'm going to watch some Football League as well.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to have enough time to squeeze Football League in as well, mate. When there's 4 games on Boxing Day that I'm going to be able to watch because they're at different times, I think that's about as much as I'm going to be able to take it, to be honest.
Well, maybe I'll leave you plenty of voice notes if I do go out and watch them all in the pub.
Yeah, sounds a plan, mate. Sounds a plan. Right, that's pretty much us for the evening, to be fair. For those that want to know, we will be back later on this week after the Boxing Day and day after fixtures. So, what do you reckon, Stocks? A Friday?
Yeah, Friday would be good. I would have sobered up by then, possibly.
Yeah. So a Friday evening, neither of our teams on a Friday evening. We can have one of the games. I'll probably have Brighton Brentford on in the background because that's the better game of the two. And we can have a little catch up on what's happened Boxing Day and what's happening as them games go on.
Yeah, we can laugh at one. Always funny when you get the piss.
Yeah, 100%. And then that saves us from having to try and squeeze in a Sunday session again. So should be all good.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, enjoy your Christmas with the family.
Yes, and you, mate, enjoy. Have a good one. I would say don't eat or drink too much, but we both know we're both going to do both of them. So,
mate, I'll do it when it's not Christmas. So I'm bang in trouble.
That's just every week.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Nice one. Pleasure as always.
See you later. See you later, everyone. Bye.